and Ravenna Joshi.
Absent excused.
And Director Farkas is here.
I am.
And my assistant Julie Prottengeyer is here.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, we can actually stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, item number 4, we have approval and overview of the agenda.
So moved acceptance of the agenda.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, awesome.
I do have a couple additions to your agenda. I
Oh,
apologize.
that's okay. That's okay.
If you look down on number 10 under President's Report, that was a mistake by me. It should be Tara Mitchner in the parentheses. We're going to add a letter C for HR Committee Director's Evaluation, June 28, 2018, and that will be taken over by Bill Lawler, who is our new secretary. And then we're adding a letter D for HOA meetings, and we'll discuss that. And then on the second page, which is page 3, on page 3, please add a B to number 15, matters for board action. And the B is December 2018 board meeting, moving from December 27th, which is a Thursday, to Thursday, December 20th, before the holiday. And that's a matter for board action. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I should amend my
Yes, you should. I
motion
apologize.
to accept the agenda as amended.
Sounds good. Do I hear a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, sounds like it's approved to me. All right, so number 5 is consent agenda. So we're going to take this step by step. First, we'll start with A, approval of regular meeting minutes, and that's from March 29th. If you want to review that quickly, it's 4 through 11. You haven't already.
I had some note on it. There was a duplicate on page 9 and on page 10, a duplicate of Strategic Planning Committee.
Oh,
Review of the current plan. It was listed as number A, and then it was listed again as letter E. It should be one or the other. So I would, I don't know if we need to move it or not, but suggest that it be amended to remove the duplication of the same message.
Doreen, can you say the page number the first one was on?
Number 9 at the bottom, under committee reports, it has A, policy committee, no current report. And then on the next page, page 10, it has E, strategic planning committee, blah, 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 no committee report.
Those are two separate committees.
Oh, you're right.
Okay.
Totally. Thank you.
You are
I was saying,
welcome.
how did that happen? Thank
I
you.
just wanted to make sure,
Thank
we
you.
were.
I somehow read that wrong. I do apologize.
No, you're fine. I was like,
Erase.
you're good.
I'm like, I'm not finding it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so A, does that sound, I'll throw out a motion for that one separately to approve?
So moved.
Okay. And is there a
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, and then under B, approval of claims and warrants L565, and that one's 12 through 14.
I did have 2 questions on the warrants.
Okay.
I noticed we made a payment for $2,700 to Amazon.com. What do we do with them?
That is, 742 is our book budget, so that's purchasing materials.
Oh, okay. And then Illuminart. I see we have a $2,000 check to Illuminart. Does that indicate we're starting to buy the lamps for the retrofit?
No, that's still part of our contract that we have them for consulting. So just a little bit of the work that's been done. That whole entire contract has not been completed out yet. We still have things to do with them and received some work as well last week.
Thank you.
And if you guys want to look at that, those were pages 12 and 13 separately, what Bill was talking about. All right, so we'll bring that up for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve?
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, sounds approved. Correspondence under number 6, it sounds like we have some things.
We do. On
Okay.
page 15, this is a thank you letter that was received in March. It was for an auction that takes place every fall with the American Business Women's Association. The library donates a basket with gently used or donated brand-new books that maybe don't fit in the collection. We will put them as a basket for a raffle, and some library paraphernalia that has library logo on it and things like that we have. So just a thank you for being part of that. On page 16, the top is an email from April Stevenson, who's our head of information services, sending out a thank you to a number of people that were partners in the Alice training and program that we offered at the library, which took place on the 10th. And as you can see, there were a few responses that were received back, also thanking April and appreciating the fact that they were part of the program, and that was Detective John Zabek from our Novi Police Department, Assistant Chief Scott Batens from the Novi Police Department, and Charles Leclerc, who's one of the assistant principals at the Novi High School. This program went over very well. It's a training that the schools plus the library has also gone through similar training. It's like an active shooter type training, but it was some awareness for our public and our community members to be a part of. And it was very well attended and also very much appreciated. On page 17 and 18, actually, they go together. I don't know if you've had a chance to drive in from 10 Mile into the library, but right by the librarian statue, there are some blue pinwheels that are there, and it is in recognition of Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month for April. And I put the information, I wanted you to be aware that we were happy to support this endeavor with the Novi Community Coalition and allow the coalition to put those pinwheels on the property. There was no money donated or anything from the library or in connection with the library, but just us supporting the actual awareness.
I saw them at the police station, across the
Yes.
street at the church. So
Yes.
it's really nice.
Yeah.
They look fun for a sad cause.
I saw them at the preschool too.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
Okay, great. Any questions about any of that from anyone for Julie? Okay, we'll move on to 7, and we don't have a presentation
We
or
do not.
special guest today, so we'll move right past that to public comment. Okay, in order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 5-minute time limit. This is not a question and answer session, therefore library board members will not respond to questions. It is an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees. Looking out amongst the seats, I don't see anyone coming forward, so we'll go ahead and move on to 9. And that is the student representatives report.
For the March 2018 Student Representative Report, for the programs, the Princeton Review Getting Into Your Dream College program took place on March 3rd. Princeton Review helped each attendee get one step closer to their dream college by providing insight on how to find the best college for students. Attendance for that was 6. The College Planning for College-Bound Families event took place on March 6th. At this program, Mike Bink, the founder and director of College Planning, presented a workshop that was designed to answer parents' biggest questions about college planning. Attendance for that was 10. The Get Cracking on Coding Club took place on March 7th. Accelerate Kid educated and taught participants about computer programming and game design. Participants learned about computer science with Bitsbox to program video app games using JavaScript programming language. Attendance for that was 20. Battle of the Books took place on March 10th. At this competition, students read from a list of 6 books and then participated in a contest where each team answers questions about those books. Prizes were awarded to first, second, and third place teams. There were also awards for best team name and best team attire. Attendance for that was 204. The Pizza and Pages Book Club took place on March 27th. Attendees read the book 68 Rooms by Marianne Malone. The purpose of this book club is to encourage tweens to read and also allow tweens to practice for the Battle of the Books program that the library holds annually. The attendance for that was 9. For the Teen Space update, there were 579 attendees in Teen Space in the month of March. HOSA students gave a brief presentation on March 9th in Teen Space. Lindsay subbed in Teen Space on March 15th and brought in special treats for the teens. Teen Space opened early on March 23rd due to an early dismissal at the high school. Treats were provided by Lindsay that day. Teen Space was closed on March 30th because there was no school on Good Friday. The total from September 2017 to March 2018 in Teen Space is 5,070 attendees, and you can see the breakdown there for each specific month. For the Teen Advisory Board update, the 7th Teen Advisory Board meeting of the year took place on March 16th. At this meeting, teens enjoyed cupcakes, cereal bars, and drinks. Teens formed groups and talked about their favorite Women's History Month figure. Then, in their groups, members brainstormed ideas about the summer reading program for tweens and teens and the various prizes offered for each different age group. An update was given regarding the April Community Service Project for a book drive, in which books will be given to the Academy of America School in Detroit for a Battle of the Books program. Attendance for that was 29. For the upcoming programs, there is the Cinco de Mayo celebration on May 4th, the Teen Advisory Board meeting on May 18th, the Teen Volunteer Orientation for the Summer Reading Program on May 22nd and May 23rd, and the Tween Pizza and Pages Book Club on May 23rd. And for the caption for the photo, the winner of this year's Battle of the Books, The Nascent Minds.
Nice. Thank you so much. Any questions?
I just wanted to pass along one person's opinion. The Princeton Review event and the Planning for College-Bound Families event did not draw large attendances, but I would encourage you to keep those events up. Maybe the publicity can be done differently or something like that, but I just think those are very potentially valuable, high-quality events that you should do.
I also would like to comment on the fact that we have 6 young women who are the winners of the Battle of the Books, which is wonderful and causes me to wonder what is the gender percentages in the Battle of the Books. Is it mostly young girls, or do we have young males also participating?
I actually think it's a pretty good mix,
Is
and
it?
if I could
Okay.
add, I want to thank Trustee Verma for actually being there, hosting and speaking to the students, but I think Trustee Verma, you would probably agree with me that it's about, I'd say half and half.
Yeah.
It's a very good mix of both
That's great.
male and female that are participating as readers.
And the age range?
Well, it's 5th and 6th grade,
5th
so,
and 6th
yeah.
only, okay.
And so this year we saw actually the diversity, and about 2 years ago, there was none. I mean, everybody was Indian people or Pakistanis. So this year was mixed type of thing.
Oh, that's great.
It was, right. And also, I'd like to just put out there that Lucky Strike was one of our sponsors for that event, and I appreciate them working with the library. But also, thank you, Trustee Verma, for being there that day.
Thank you.
It's an incredible event.
It
You guys
is.
do a great
You've
job.
been there in the past,
I
that's right,
have.
yes.
I have. Thank you so much for the report. You guys are doing an incredible job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lahari.
Okay, we're going to move on to 10. Item 10 is the president's report. And as we all see, Julie amended that to my name. The first one is A. So 2017, 2018 library board goals. We're going to go to pages 22 to 36 for that.
And I'm happy to take any questions that you have. I know that there's a lot there. Hopefully, you've had a chance to look over a lot of red. And that's actually what's been updated since the last time that you saw the report. You know, the different departments are continuing to meet goals and, you know, finish up projects as we're getting towards the end of the year with June coming up. So I welcome any questions that you might have at this time.
I have a comment really
Sure.
quick. On page 29 in red, it talks about hoopla a little bit, and if you guys recall from the last meeting, we had an excellent presentation on hoopla and a little tutorial that I quickly downloaded. I have since used it, and now I can proudly say I am a endorser of that as a patron
Great.
of the library. It's made my family happy all around. I've only got 3 people there, but they're all happy, so
Good,
thank you.
good. Absolutely.
Anyone else have anything to share or any questions for Julie on the goals?
I just want to kind of comment, that libraries are not for books only anymore. Libraries have changed. And reading the goals, I love the fact that there still are books and that there are still this wide range of ways to educate and to engage across a whole plethora of media.
Right.
And I think the goals really show that and highlight that depth and breadth of what a library is.
Thank you, thank you. That's the amazing team I have that has all those ideas that are all over the place, trust me.
Okay, all right, sounds like we're good there. Thank you for that, Doreen. Okay, moving on to B, which is 2018, 2019 committee assignments. The only changes that were made with committees was, did you want to speak on
No,
that?
I actually talked to Bill last time that let it be the same,
Yeah,
who are all there in the committees, because they accepted it, and we can continue that way.
yeah, there is one change. I'm no longer on the HR committee, but Bill is, so that's,
So you are not in the HR committee?
I am not.
Okay.
So we'll make that
Yeah,
change.
just that one change. Yeah, so that's, everything else is the same. And then, let's see, so we did add a few things under President's Report, as we noted earlier. So under C, we have Bill Lawler with the HR evaluation. Do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Yeah, Ramesh has done it in the past. It's got 2 components to it, the mid-year and the final, where each of the board members is invited to provide input. I believe at the mid-year, it's not ranking, it's just narrative. And then at the end of the year, there's actually the ranking form too. So I'll be sending those out when the next one is due, which I believe is June.
Correct. It will be the June meeting, June 28th.
All right, great, thank you, Bill. All right, and then D was an add as well, and that was the HOA meeting. No,
Yes, so this came up when we had a HR committee meeting last week. I actually brought it up as a way for, if the board is looking for a way to get involved a little bit with the library, all of you do a wonderful job attending programming, and I thank you so much for that, and going to different events. And that's actually increased, just so you know, with the new board members that we've had over the last couple of years. I actually see you more at events, and I'm very proud of that, and I appreciate your time for you to come out to do something else outside of the board meetings. But I thought about this, and I wanted to just see what you thought. We host a lot of HOA meetings at the library, and one way that we get them in the door is because we offer them a free rental of the room. And if they take us up on that and want to do the free rental, the library will give a 10 to 15-minute talk about what's going on. And it always changes because, depending on the month and when they come in, there's always new things to let them know about and programming. Would any of you be interested in attending those? If I send you out a notice and say, there's going to be an HOA meeting on X date, and would you like to be there? I'm only looking for one person to just show up for 10, 15 minutes, say hello, and you're putting a face from the community along with either myself or one of my managers. It's myself, April, Barb, or Mary Ann or Christina. So there's about 5 of us that, rotate, and we take on doing those welcomes and 10 to 15-minute talks. I'd love to be able to introduce a board member if you're interested in being there and can make a meeting for just a few minutes and and we can say, today one of our trustees is joining us, and you can even say a few words about the library or the board itself, if you'd like. I just want to throw that out to you, and if you wanted to, I would then send you, as I get a notice of when there's going to be a meeting, I would send it out and find out, is anybody interested, and can you make it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would do it too.
Okay? Okay, great. Thank you. I just thought, just as an added touch of getting the board involved in the community and a little bit of connection. So there's no pressure. If I end up not hearing from you, don't worry. There's someone from the board or from the staff that will be there and does the talk, but just wanted to give you an opportunity as well.
And that offer is open, so people can continue to think about it, and if they do, they can easily email you as well?
You can, yes.
Okay.
And what I'll do is, you can email me if you can make it. We only need one. I don't want to take up all your time.
Sure.
If I know in advance who it is, I'll let either, I will know obviously, or I'll let the staff know who's going to be doing it that night, so they'll know to be looking for you. But if not, nobody knows the wiser.
I'm
Yeah.
always at my homeowners meeting, so I definitely do mine.
So the meeting room is which one?
It varies. Yeah, it depends on how big the HOA is, if it's an actual board meeting to an actual HOA big
Annual
annual meeting, correct. So it always can depend. But, you end up with as little, sometimes 5, 7 people to talk to very quickly. They always appreciate getting a little bit of a plug of what's going on, or you could have a room full.
Doreen just brought up a good point, so now I have a clarifying question.
Sure.
So when you say the homeowners association meeting, you're not just talking about their annual meeting. Any meeting they're having there, they can have.
Correct.
As long
As
as,
long as it's an HOA.
okay.
Yes.
So, thank you.
Yes.
That was good. Okay, so that helped me.
We're happy, because that's giving, that's helping the community by
Yeah.
giving us a space that night to our community members.
That's great. Awesome. Do you have a time where you want them to make sure that they reserve in advance, or?
I don't think
does it
so. I
matter?
mean, if you can quickly, in the time that I send it out, if you know in advance and can say, I can do it, I can let everybody know, thanks so much, trustee Lawler, let's say, is offered, and I'll send it.
Bless you.
And then if something comes up and you can't make it, don't worry about that either. I don't want it to be very pressured at all.
Gotcha.
But just an opportunity.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so now we're down to 11, which is the treasurer's report with Melissa Augusta.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll start on page 37 with the approved budget for Fund 268, fiscal year 2017-2018. Calls for revenue of $2,901,020. Moving forward to page 40, approved expenditures of $3,032,296, consuming $131,476 of the fund balance. On page 41, 2017-2018 budget for Fund 269 calls for revenue of $48,500 and expenditures of $140,965. The revenue and expenditure report for Fund 268 starts on page 42, but we will be looking at numbers on page 45. Revenue year-to-date ending March 31st, 2018 were $2,879,627. It was an increase from the previous month of $4,405. And our expenditures as of March 31st, 2018, were $2,093,951. That was an increase of the previous month of $304,226. As you can see, net of revenue and expenditures is $785,675. So we currently have 3 months left of our of our fiscal year. So I kind of looked at 2016 and 2017 for the last 3 months, and we averaged approximately $230,000 a month. So with $785,000 net left, just to have a balanced year, we could average about $260,000 a month and still have a fund balance of even. So we are still on track for not using our fund balance. Oh, I just saw a face, okay.
Just wonderful.
According to March 31st, 2018.
And the fingers are crossed.
Yeah, so that's where we're at for that.
It's wonderful to see it in black and not in red.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, any questions about that before I move? Yes, sir.
One small question, and it's the same one that we raised before. On page 45 and 47, the net of revenue versus expenditures for Fund 268, there continues to be a difference. This month, it's about $5,000.
Yes.
That's not life and death, but
Right.
you would think that the numbers would match
Yeah.
once in a while.
And I am still working with the city finance department. I had some meetings following our last meeting, cleared up a few things. They had a few numbers that were off from what our budget was. So, yes, we're getting there.
I also appreciate the minutes had the treasurer's report in it that I thought was very helpful. I didn't say that at the time, but to have the written report from the treasurer in the minutes certainly made it easy to kind of say, oh, yes, and then as we move down.
Explain, what does that mean? What do you,
Maybe I was crazy. Didn't I see someplace in the minutes that the treasurer's report was listed,
it always is, isn't it?
but it was detailed? Didn't I read that someplace?
Well, she was not
Somebody
here
help me.
last year.
I know, but so there was a written report from the treasurer that I read in the packet. I don't remember where now. I
It
thought
was in the minutes from last month,
Yes, okay.
but I think it's always in the minutes.
In
right,
that
Julie?
detail?
Usually, I mean,
Yeah.
Okay,
we had a different note taker,
okay.
so that, just difference in language and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's usually in there, because I
Right,
always
okay.
reference back and making sure that I'm still using,
Yes, all right.
doing everything, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, revenue and expenditure report for Fund 269. Revenue as of March 31st, 2018 is $35,436, and expenditures were $26,244. All right, balance sheet for Fund 268, which is on page 47. Yes, 47, shows our fund balance of $2,620,715.50. And the fund balance for Fund 269 as of March 31st, 2018 is $1,770,138.54. Sorry. Any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Melissa. Okay, so moving on to the director's report, which is 12, item number 12.
And I'm on page 49. Just want to point out, we had 4 anniversaries for the month of April. Robin Dirks, 5 years. She's one of our shelvers in our support services department. Sandra Lim, 4 years. She's a supervisor in our support services department. Jennifer Miankowitz, 4 years, and she is a shelver with our support services department. And Kayla Parsh, 1 year, and she is with our support services department under technical services. And I know that trustee Mitchner, actually President Mitchner, sent cards to those staff as well. So I wanted to show you this is just some anecdotal information, but I just wanted to point out to you how busy Sundays are. That we're only open 6 hours, from 12 until 6.
Yeah.
And normally a Monday, Monday through Thursday, we're open from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. and we average about 1,200 people. And I wanted you to just see what a Sunday does in 12 hours' time. So Sundays are quite busy, and the reason why I actually put March, but then I put 4/8, that was the day we hosted Tom Sharp, which was the kickoff to the National Library Week, and his concert. And Trustee Lawler was there on behalf of the board that day to step in and see the concert. But it definitely drew in. We had almost 120, it was 119 people that were in attendance for that concert at the library on a Sunday afternoon. And just, it was a busy day, and that tends to be a family day. So it's great to see that kind of busyness at the library, even on a Sunday. So I just had to share that because I knew that the numbers probably were really good that day. At the bottom of page 49, this is some information about some of the topics and some of the information that we were able to take part in when myself and April Stevenson, Kathleen Alberga, and Jesse Shank went to PLA in Philadelphia. And I just want to thank the board again for this opportunity that you gave us in order to travel there and be a part of that conference. It comes up every 2 years, and it is truly the best conference to be part of. It's the Public Library Association Conference, and we get so much out of it. I asked the ladies, to provide some topics and information that they actually took part in and enjoyed. And so this is a compilation of all four of us, some of the topics, and you can see, some of the webinar, or not webinars, but the actual workshops and lectures that we went to while we were there. We left energized. Every evening when we get together and go to dinner or, meet with a vendor for dinner and stuff, that was part of our conversation, was what we were learning and what we had learned that day. And it truly is, I think, an opportunity. Not all libraries and library staff have the opportunity to do that, and I just wanted to thank all of you for your support. We enjoyed ourselves and definitely learned a lot. I do believe you'll see some things coming from this conference over the next year. Yes.
I'm interested on this session on eliminating fines and fees. I know you've discussed that and considered that at various times over the years. Did you pick up anything from that?
Yes, I'll be bringing you some information. I enjoyed being a part of it only because it was on my radar, and then it really made it this year to conference to have a very big conversation. And there are some large libraries that have gone away with this. They have found this to be a huge negative with working with the public and working with families, and people tend to then stop going to the library because they owe a fine, they feel embarrassed, they don't feel comfortable, it has become a negative to walk in the building and use it. And big libraries like Nashville's huge system, Seattle, there are some big library systems that have gone away with it, and this is becoming not just a trend, it's becoming an actual change in library land from the libraries. I have lists of libraries now that have gone this route, and I do think it's something worth having a conversation with all of you, and I believe I'll have information, be willing to have a good conversation by next budget time to see if you would like to be part of it.
Really quick question on that. Did they did they talk a little bit about accountability measures?
In terms of, there's always going to be a loss. We have a
Okay.
loss now of materials. The bigger thing that they try to work with patrons on and residents is just bring it back. So some of them actually, there's a lot of people that actually feel so bad that they owe and they have the material out, that they don't even want to bring the material back. I mean, it literally can be very much a negative. So it was a very good conversation to hear, and how some of these libraries implemented it, and what they did if someone truly lost a material, which we do. If someone loses it, we ask them to replace it. And it's going away from that daily fine of walking up and going, you owe 20 cents or you owe $1 because you were late 2 weeks ago on a book that you returned. And it's that negative interaction that starts to take place with a patron and the staff. And instead of having that conversation anymore, if the book isn't returned, it's just looking at getting it replaced and getting that paid for. But it's really just pushing to get the material back. And them understanding that other people can't use it if you're not returning it, and that's all we ask you to do.
Not making it a shameful experience to go to the
Correct.
library.
And I'll be honest, that's always what it is. It's always negative. I feel bad for my staff. My staff tells me, well, we know it's part of our job. We know we have to deal with it, and they're very good at it. They're very diplomatic. They're very courteous, with patrons when they handle those situations. But it always is a negative to what we do.
I can remember when we used to sit at the front desk there, hearing some of those back and forths.
Right.
And it's kind of cringe-worthy, really.
It
You
is.
don't- It's awkward.
And one of the things that I think has been in the back of my mind for a while now is the fact that we have amazing taxpayers that have supported this library, and they do. So I feel like sometimes that's a slap on the hand then, and yet they have supported us. I'll go the other route, though, and say it is a responsibility thing. We look for people to be responsible and return the materials on time. But if they all did, we wouldn't have that fines and fees line. But is it worth it for marketing and for what we're trying to do in our community? I guess that was the philosophical question that came up, and are you willing to think about it in that way? It was very good. It was a very good session to attend.
Did you meet the vendor?
For the lending library?
Yeah.
I sure did. Yep, and I sent everyone a photo from, I was on the actual floor at the time, had the opportunity to speak with them, had also the other librarians that I was with from our library go over and get a demo of it as well so that they could see it. They're very excited to be working with us. They know that they're waiting on us because we're waiting on the park project.
So they are not going to increase if we are delaying?
Nope, at this point, they've locked in and they know that our budget's been approved. They know that we're waiting, for the project for the park, and as that moves along, they'll see what we can do. Yep.
Thank you.
This is the PLA, but is that a part of the ALA?
Correct, yes.
So now
It's a division,
it's a
because
division
ALA
of
is
it. Thank you.
all
It's
American
all,
libraries.
yes.
Can be special libraries, can be
Okay,
hospital
yes.
libraries, business libraries, yes. And that's one of the things over the years that I've been to ALA, but it's huge.
Yes.
And it is for all different types of libraries, where PLA is specific to public libraries. And I feel I get, my time is worth it and our money to go when it's every other year and to be at that particular conference.
Where will be the next one?
I believe it's Nashville in 2 years.
Nice.
So, yeah, thank you again.
You're welcome.
The bottom of page 50 and 51, I'm going to hold off on for our conversation when it comes to board matters. On page 52 and 53, as you know, and I appreciate this as well, you approved for us to be closed on Friday, May 25th, which goes into a long weekend, knowing that we're going to be changing over our computer system to a new system called Carl. So I wanted to share with you, this is, the form on page 53 is the form that went out to all libraries in our area because it's an in-service for all TLN libraries to attend. But I wanted you to see the agenda and what the library staff at Novi will be taking part in on that day. Most of the staff, because Support Services has close to 30 employees, we have about 16 that are librarians. So over half of the staff, they will attend the first session, which is the 9:30 to 10:30, the Michael P. Tyler lecture, which is Valerie Gross, talking about choosing civility and having that conversation. Most of the staff will go to that. But then following that, in the mid or late morning through lunch and then early afternoon, the support services staff, the information services staff, and my IT department, they're going to be working on projects and a lot of training getting ready for us to change over and open on Tuesday with a new computer system. So they're going to some of the day, but not all. We wanted to make sure that they got a lot of use out of that Friday being closed, heading into the new computer changeover. Administration staff will go to all of this because there's opportunities for us to, listen to these lectures. The IT staff is going to be working, as I put in my little note here, they're going to be working on some changeovers with technology. And then our facility staff is actually going to kick off, if the LED materials arrive on time and purchase, they're going to kick off starting that project on that Friday with us being closed. That's fingers crossed and hoping our timeline works in that way. So just wanted to share with you what was going on that day being closed.
I would.
Yes.
It seems that, if I were looking for something on the library, I was surprised at the emphasis on harmony, energizing, and civility. And happy for it, but wondered what has gone on that has caused that focus for this specifically.
Personally, I'm looking forward to it because I just think in this changing world and
Yes.
stuff, we're seeing things that it might be helpful to have a conversation. And I think that was, TLN was listening to that from a lot of libraries that, if you had a program with that title, it would work. They're hosting it for us, so I wasn't part of the planning of the in-service. But I'm looking forward to the topic. I think it'll be good for anyone, in our line of work.
Yes.
It's a good question.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you don't mind giving us, when you, afterwards.
Sure.
Giving us a little blurb about what you thought. And
Sure,
maybe
absolutely.
sharing that at the next board meeting
Yeah,
afterwards.
would love to.
Thank you so much. Continue, please.
Following on page 54, it's just an update that comes from Celia Morse. As you know, she's the TLN automation consultant that's working on the changeover with the TLN staff for the computer, for the new computer system. Everything that she's put in there, it's talking about training. In fact, Mary Ann was at an all-day training today, so training has started for our staff, and we're moving along. Page 55, just wanted to put this in there. This was from Jim Neal. He's our ALA president, and this actually came out as we were at PLA, so this was wonderful good news when you see that library funding hasn't been cut,
Yes.
and it's still strong, and so I wanted you to just be aware of that. I'd like to keep you abreast of what's going on across all libraries, not just ours. Pages 56 and 57, a little bit of 57, is Barb's report for IT. You can see some photos there from Enable and some of the robotics teams that have been helping out to finish up our goal of 200 hands. And then at the bottom of page 57, there is a report from Keith Perfect in terms of what was going on, just different from, the everyday stuff, some things that have been happening with facilities. On page 58, 59, this is April Stevenson's report for the Information Services Department. I did want to bring your attention to page 59 with the 1,000 books. They did some more tracking and also are giving you a little more in terms of statistics in that red area there. Number of active participants logging 100 books or more, then the number of logs received to date. And they broke it down to about the books that have been read, so you're looking at 68,300 books read in 1.5 years of this program based on these kids. So I think it's good to put those, those numbers of kids that are involved, but yet the books that are being read too. And that was from Emily Brush giving that information. And then on page 60 and 61, this is a report from Mary Ann Zermulin for support services. On page 62, that's one of the flyers that we've been circulating now for a while. Information that's, available in the library. It's on our website. It's been Facebooked. We have bookmarks that are going out. As you pick up materials, that information is going out as well. So just trying to keep the patrons in the loop on really the closure and then, of course, the changeover, but also those closures as well. And then on page 63, we start the statistics. And I wanted to point out on page 63, which is highlighted in yellow, we had the opportunity starting in March to work with the school district, the Novi School District, and they now have central registration. And they are helping us by when they meet with a new family, a library card, if they don't have one already, is being issued to the family if they want it. So this is, just in the month of March, 48 new cards to new families coming into the district. They're helping us by taking the paperwork and giving them the card in hand right there at the district, so they don't have to make another stop. We're giving them the card. So I want to thank the school district for working with us on this new part, and hopefully more parts will come.
I
And then-
think that's
yes.
wonderful, and you know what I'm going to say, Wall Lake.
Yes,
And
we'll get
so,
there. We're
it's-
using them as a trial basis.
Like
and
pilot.
I think the work that you're doing with the Novi schools, which is the majority of
Yes, right.
our district, is just really to be commended. I keep thinking of those of us north of 696.
Correct.
With the Walled Lake Consolidated School District, so.
And you are absolutely right, they are on my radar. What I
Okay.
wanted to do is try it, make sure it
Absolutely.
wasn't
I'm
too
not
much work.
pushing, I'm not
Yeah.
pushing.
No.
Just nudging.
Absolutely, and I appreciate the nudge. As soon as we said, we'll look at this, make sure it's not, we didn't want it to be more work on the school district,
Yes,
asking
yes,
them to do
yes,
something for us.
yes.
So we told them, if you will start it, see how it
think
works for
it's
your
great.
staff.
It's great.
If it's not too much, then yeah, we'd like to move it on and also do it with.
Because
Walled Lake.
schools have immunizations and they
Yeah.
have all of that to
Right,
do. So
right.
this is wonderful.
Yeah. So it's just a small form, and they're helping us out by getting that information.
Walled Lake next.
Yes.
Julie, quick question back to facilities. Could you give us a summary of what happened after you let us know the roof was leaking?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
So here's what happened. It was actually the main entrance area, the lobby, that vestibule area. It was because on the roof itself, there was there was ice that had accumulated up there. And so the water was coming in from a direction due to the ice. I know that trustee Verma has actually seen it, been inside, and has asked about it. There was no damage, we have found. Everything had to be dried out, which it was. The locker system, no problems there. They were dried out because we had water literally coming through the lockers, coming through light fixtures. It was quite a rainy mess. But no water damage and no issues. What we will have to do, though, is because we know this is the second time this has happened, and we know that ice does get up there, and if it's cold enough, we think we're going to have to run some kind of heating coil up there so that we can keep it from not freezing up there and not having that issue. Keith is going to be looking into it so that something like that gets installed in the fall, that we can put up there and hook into already what we have in that area. He said he didn't believe it would be too complicated in order to do that. The other leaking problem, though, is from a skylight. And that's been a consistent problem as well. We've had them out to look at it, thinking they're sealing it. We did have the company back out because it's been less than a year, because the work was done in May, and here we are, this happened in April, so less than a year. They found another spot. I don't believe we're going to be charged for it because they know that it's been less than a year, and there's some other work they're going to be doing. So hopefully that'll fix also the skylight issue. And then we have a company that does fabric panel cleaning. Then we'll have them come in once the work's done and clean the fabric panels that did receive some water. Not damaged, but it's stained. And hopefully those can be cleaned up. We've also received a quote on that as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Does insurance cover any of that?
Well, there's no damage. I mean, I can look into it in terms of cleaning, but I don't, first of all, our premium on it, it's less, the quotes that I've received, it's less than what yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be covered. If it was more money, it would be. So the statistics go through page 71, and I didn't have anything else to point out. If you have any questions, please let me know. Then on page.
Page
Yes.
66,
Okay.
we give the laptops to the people, to our,
Page 66, you said?
the laptop, yeah.
Lending.
Lending laptop,
Yes, you can actually come into the building and use a laptop, one of ours.
not for home.
No, just to check out in the building.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. On page 72 and 73, this is the Friends, and 74, this is the Friends of the Novi Library, their minutes from their February meeting. At this time, I didn't see anything that was out of the ordinary in terms of pointing out. I do know that they're going to be recognizing their student. They have a scholarship that they award every year, and their student will be at their May meeting. And the May meeting, they will also discuss the wish list that I presented to you during budget time, and have a discussion about the wish list as well for May.
I also commend them for coming to the Fox Run Expo on May 3rd.
Yes, they will be.
Thank you, Julie,
Sure.
for working with Peggy to get a table for them to do that.
Yep.
I'm just wondering if there are other similar organizations that have expos similar to what Fox Run does, homeowners or, some kind of an area, so we can look at helping them expand and deepen their base for membership.
I can check into it. Usually we try to invite them as much as where we go. We try to include them. If they're not available, they usually send information and then we support them, by having their information as well. But I will check into it.
I'm thinking of sororities or fraternities or, other such kinds of groups in which you have people who are, committed, if you would, to library support.
Okay. And then on page 75 through 79, this is the Historical Commission and their minutes from their March 28th meeting. They had their approval of their budget, which was sent over to the city. They are expending, which it's part of the city's budget actually for Historical Commission, but they had asked for $14,000 for their budget. They also approved dues of $600 for the Oakland County Historical Resources, and I appreciate that approval. What that is that's allowing digitization and different forms of newspapers and things like that get added to this site in order for people to have access to it. So it's a membership and it allows us to send our information as well, and Novi News is part of that record and part of that database.
Julie, when
Yes.
I read it, and I've heard, it was alluded to in the State of the City address with the mayor, and see again, Novi here, the 50th celebration of the city of Novi
Yes.
is kind of a big deal. And so I was just wondering what the library is planning, if anything, to engage with the city on the 50th anniversary.
So we're part of their committee planning meetings. At this time, I don't know, because it's just started. They just started having their meetings. In fact, they had a meeting scheduled for last week and it was canceled, so they're rescheduling it. But I do know that they've tapped into specifically the Historical Commission
Of course.
because of the historical documents and things that they want to use and work with them on. But yes, we are involved.
Who is attending from the library side? meeting?
Betty Lang is, and then she keeps me involved, and sometimes myself and Christina are available to attend as well.
Yeah, there was only one meeting so far.
Right.
I didn't see any library person there.
Well, I know they actually came to the Historical Commission.
No, the meeting was in the library, but I didn't see any library person because I was part of that.
Well, Cheryl Walsh made a separate meeting with Historical Commission.
Oh,
Yeah, she actually went to their meeting.
I see,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So if there's anything that our board needs to be aware of for
Okay.
that 50th anniversary, I think that's a rather prestigious event in our city.
Okay.
And second question then, where are we with Villabar in the historical records? I know City Council was raising questions about where it would go and if it would be here or whatever. I don't know if they've made their decision yet.
We
At
were,
Wayne State, or they were considering the library,
right.
which would have been, yes.
Yeah, well, we gave a recommendation. We actually, Betty and I looked at some of the documents, and truly, they weren't things that we would be able to put in our collection. Plus, we don't have archival experience for that as
Exactly.
well. And we shared that, wrote it up and let Parks and Rec know that. Jeff shared that message. I do believe that was what they were hoping to do is work with Wayne State. I don't know what that final decision was.
I don't either. Okay,
I can
thank
find
you.
out for you.
No, just of interest, because I know the library's been very supportive
Oh,
of
absolutely.
Villabar, and they have, they're ready to open it with handicap accessible, and also with the Artist in Residence
Correct.
program is starting, and it seems to me the library can benefit from the Artist in Residence, even though we don't have the archival.
Right. The other piece of that is, we're working with Historical Commission because the chair, Kathy Crawford, would like to do some form of program, put something together that talks about David Barr's life and who David Barr was. We are going to work to put some type of presentation together. I sat with her a couple weeks ago, and we now have to formulate some of that material and research in order to do that, but that is what the hope is.
There's been like a 20-minute video that's been on government TV, and that's been quite good with him and his work and
Right.
so on. Yes, okay.
Thank you.
The library benefits quite a bit from its volunteers. Do you know why the city has decided to drop the appreciation event that they've done for volunteers?
They didn't, they had it.
Yeah, I read that note in here too. They have one in December, right?
Well, that's for boards and commissions.
Okay.
So if you're on a board and commission or a staff person, a Novi staff person, then you are at that particular event. For volunteering, actual volunteer hours and part of the volunteer database through the library and the city, that appreciation took place on the 16th of April? Yes. I think it was the 16th. It was a Monday. Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
I didn't notice that, okay.
Right. So they had, that invitations went out. Julie actually is our volunteer coordinator. So she coordinates all the volunteers that are from the library. That information is shared with the city. Those invites go out, and then we had an event here. They actually hosted it right here at the Civic Center.
Well, if you look at page 73 on the Friends report, towards the bottom, it
Yes.
says Carol reported that the city is not going to be doing. an
And that was in
appreciation.
February. So in February, there wasn't anything planned.
Gotcha.
And then we got word that they were planning something, and we sent all the info. We did, by the way, a number of our friends and people who work in the Book Nook were part of that event that night.
And just for clarification purposes, our trustees would be invited to the December one, not that
Correct.
one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because you're on boards and
On the board and
commissions.
Yep, no, that
Yes.
makes sense. I just wanted to,
Right. You are absolutely correct.
okay.
Right. If you were still volunteering in a capacity of the welcome desk, then that would have changed things, because in the past, we did that because that was additional volunteer hours. So that's
Gotcha.
kind of the difference between.
Yep, that makes sense.
The difference of the flavor, if you would, of the two
Correct.
is quite palpable.
Yes.
Nope, that's helpful. Thank you so much for
You're
the
welcome.
clarification.
Absolutely. And then the last page, of course, is our library calendar. So thank you.
Yep, thank you so much. Any other questions for Julie? Okay, great. So we'll move on to 13, committee reports. So A, Policy Committee. That is, I'm the chair of that, and we have nothing new to report, correct, Doreen?
That is correct.
Okay. B, HR Committee. We did report something new already. I think we covered that. Did you guys have anything to add?
No, she said she will touch,
Right.
she will, yeah, that is page 51.
We skipped the matter for board action. Sorry, I was mentioning the change in who's on it because my name's still on here. So I was
Yes.
just mentioning that little piece. But yes, there is a matter for board action that we'll get to later. And obviously, there's nothing else to say on that because I mentioned those other two items. I just wanted to clarify those things I said earlier, if that makes sense. Okay. C, Finance Committee.
I actually put out a call, and I did receive responses back for a finance committee meeting. We're going to be meeting on May 3rd. I'm hoping, when I sent out the email, the time frame I gave was from 6 to 7. I'm hoping if we can move it up to 5:30 and do it from 5:30 to 6:30, we should be able to accommodate some other meetings that people have to go to. So if you can confirm that and let me know for sure, but everyone was available at 6, if we could just bump it a half hour. Okay, great. Then we're set to meet next week, Thursday. Thank
Okay.
you.
You're welcome, thank you. And then D, and obviously we heard about the Tom Sharp concert.
Yes.
I happen to be the chair of events. I wasn't at the concert, but it sounds like Bill was. Do you have anything to say about that?
Well, it was outstanding. He has a real wide variety of experience in groups and such that he's played with, and he was really good with the crowd, very engaging with the folks, and I actually ran into him in the parking lot on the way out and got to talk to him a little bit more, but it was very well attended and quite entertaining.
Thank you so much for sharing.
And then Julie recommended it to Fox Run.
Yes.
And when we had our volunteer appreciation event at Fox Run, he was our special entertainer at that time too, so.
And I heard about
it went
200
very
people.
well.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it- yeah, our pack was filled, so there were 230 people there. It was very nice.
That is nice.
We also took Tom Sharp on the road, and he went to Hickory Woods, which is a Wild Lake school.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And he was there on April 9th, that Monday, and performed for about 350 students, third, fourth, and fifth graders there. And
They would love it.
they really enjoyed it. Yeah, he did a great job with the students. Teachers, too. The music teachers were in awe. And they don't realize, I think he's a pretty humble man and quiet. And here he is, the drummer for Mannheim Steamroller. He used to be part of Styx. He is a pretty well-known musician. And here he is, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
He said something that his father was not well, and I think has since passed.
Yes, unfortunately, he was able to
Yes.
return home just in time. Yep.
Good.
Okay. E, Strategic Planning Committee.
I have ideas. We will be getting together. So yes, I will be getting a meeting together very soon.
Awesome. F is Building Landscape Committee, entrance project.
So at this point, we've submitted the details of the lighting that we need to purchase to Gray Bar through the city, waiting to hear on the quotes and what the costs are so that we can move forward and find out the time frame for ordering and when we can have them in. I've been working with Sue Morianti on that from the city. So I'm waiting on that piece. I have met with the facility staff, and I've pretty much worked out the staffing and personnel needed based on Carl's analysis, as well as how he has sent documentation of what sections of the library we should do first, kind of like giving an idea of what would be the best way to tackle the project. Also breaking down the lighting we would need for each part, each section, or each portion of the project, things like that. That's information that's been received since we've last met. And then I'm putting together, because I'm waiting on the pricing of the materials, I'll be putting together the personnel pricing as well. And then I'll be able to share what I think will be a total cost. And that I am still waiting on, but hopefully we'll have it soon. And my projection date is to start on Friday, May 25th. Waiting. Fingers crossed.
Nice.
I just want to comment again, changing to LED is such a noble, moral decision, but it comes with quite a bit of sweat and tears.
I'm telling you what. This project and the HR salary project this year, actually, they've both been over a year. Yes, I'm going to be happy to see them come to an end.
I think it's fitting with everything we've seen about Earth Day, to know that we really are committed, that you are committed to make this work, because it is a moral and noble function that we're doing.
Thank you.
G, Bylaw Committee.
We're good. Bylaws are good. Yes.
All right. Okay, so now we're at 14, public comment. In order to hear all citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 5-minute time limit. This is not a question and answer session. Therefore, library board members will not respond to questions. It is an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees. I don't see anyone coming forward, so I'm going to say we'll move on to 15.
President, Minister, I'm wondering
Yeah.
if, someone on the board could look out and say there is no one, can we not have to make that comment? Or is that part of our obligation to have to make the comment twice? I can see it at the beginning, but if there's nobody here, I wonder if we could have a motion not to read the comment, or is that just me?
It's not a problem for me to read it twice,
Okay.
because it's just there.
All right.
But if it seems cumbersome, I cannot. It's up to you guys. What do you
I'm just
think?
trying to think, and I would have to go back and
See if it's
review.
required by.
Well,
It might be a Robert's rule.
it's not, I don't believe it's that, but if
Could
we're
be
following a
Michigan
similar
requirement.
protocol with council, I think they do that
Okay.
at council, if I'm not mistaken. But I can double check their,
Okay.
Their
Well, I'd love to
reports.
hear you do it, but it just seems to me.
Cumbersome.
Yeah.
right.
Mhm. I hear you. If you can check, Julie.
Sure,
I don't mind omitting it or saying it. I'm, either way, I'm fine.
sure.
Whatever the majority wants. Okay, so we'll move on to, any other thoughts on that first before I scoot past? Okay. All right, we'll move to 15, which is our matters for board action. A is the new salary chart on page 51. Julie, do you want to describe what's going on here?
Sure,
Or-
if you'd like me
Yeah,
to.
please.
Okay, absolutely. Okay. So what you have in front of you on page 51 is, first of all, the current in blue is the current salary ranges and structure. And we have been using that since 2008. Next to it in yellow is the proposed, which would go into effect July 1st, 2018. This is based on data that we received, lots of comparison data, and the fact that we know that the library specifically does have a position of minimum wage. The city does not. So that's a little bit of a difference. And most libraries do have a minimum wage position. So when minimum wage changed and went up and has for the last few years, we of course changed it for minimum wage, but we didn't make the accommodations per the different grades of our salary structure. And that actually then posed a problem of lessening the gap and changing the integrity of the current structure that we had in place from the consultants that did this work back in 2018. I worked with the city of Novi and the HR department to ask them to help me create a new proposed structure that would keep that integrity of percentages between different positions based on, what those positions require, and then taking into consideration the new, the minimum wage at which it is now compared to before. And also, the green side to the right, I wanted you to see the minimum median comparison data that I had provided to you during budget time, so that you could see where some of those comparisons, if you were looking at minimum median, what that turned out to be, and then in comparison to the proposed new salary structure, where we kind of fall now. And actually, our numbers are in some areas higher, some just below, but it's definitely much better than what we had in terms of comparing ourselves to approximately 15 libraries that we tend to compare ourselves to in the Detroit suburban area. So I looked at libraries that I find to be competition to us. But what's hard when you do this is that we might be in competition with a library, but there's different factors that don't allow us to be exactly the same as that library. And I'll give an example. Novi Library has about 60,000 population for our library. We are a Class 6 library. Canton Library is a Class 6 library, but they have a population of over 90,000. I think they're closer to 100, which makes their tax value and revenue different from what
That's right.
Novi has versus Canton. Ours right now, if you look, based on budget, is about 2.8. Canton, I can tell you right now, based on the data that I provided to all of you, it's close to 6 million. Well, we have the same amount of staff almost. Actually, they have a little bit more, and yet they have a larger budget, and pot to work with in terms of, moving their salaries and doing things. So I want us to stay comparable, but I know that we're not going to be exactly, Canton, based on some of that. But when we look at salaries and when we look at positions, I want to make sure that we're staying competitive also with our competitive library, with our other libraries that we tend to compare ourselves to. So this yellow part is a recommendation that the HR department and myself worked on through the city, and I'm recommending to you as a new change going from the current to the proposed based on the new salaries. What this means then is if we put this into place, we had talked at budget time, and there was an allocation of about $56,000 for this to happen, to move people that potentially aren't even in the right salary range, making these changes. On page 50, I've given you a breakdown and I've worked through the numbers so that you can see that permanent salaries, there would be about a $9,000 increase to move some staff. For temporary salaries, there'd be about a $25,000 change in difference to move people into the new proposed salary structure. And then, of course, the Social Security cost as well. I factored that in and we're looking at about $36,000 that it would cost out of that 56 that you allocated to be used, and for me to move into those and make an amendment to our budget based on these numbers. This satisfies about 32 employees, most of which are part-time, most of which are in our support services and our librarian positions, where those changes would occur. Then there is an additional 11 employees. They're in the new ranges, they fall in the new ranges, but based on years of service and things like that, which the city says use your midpoint as about their 10-year service year, that we'd have to look at in 1920 to maybe make some additional adjustments. But this gets everybody into the new ranges comfortably and gets you on par with new salaries based on the data and a 10-year change out. Is that, I hope I've explained
Yeah,
it well.
and if I can just
I feel like
piggyback.
I've lived it.
Yeah, I think you, me, and Ramesh have lived it for 2 years.
Yes.
So just speaking from a perspective of someone who's been in the thick of it
Yes,
with
thank
Julie and Ramesh, I think this is excellent, just my private thought on that. And keep in mind, she's spending a lot less than what she was allocated per the page on the other side. I'm like, there's no page number. But page 50, page 50. There's no page number, but there is on the other side, so page 50. Keep in mind that number. And then the other piece that I can say really quick for everyone to consider is that when she talks about board action, she's not asking for us to decide tonight.
Correct.
She's asking for us to think about it and talk
Yes.
about it the next meeting. So
We still have time.
we have time,
Yep,
but I can
salaries
just.
don't have to be put into place if you choose to approve this. They wouldn't go into effect until July 1. So if you'd like the time to look over this, and if you have questions or you want to have, a further discussion, we can, and then bring this back in May. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I have two questions. The first one is, so we've already allocated and approved 56,000, is that correct? So you're asking for an additional 30?
No, I'm not.
No.
It's 36,000 of that 56 would be spent. There's actually a $20,000 savings
That's what
from
I
what you
But if we've already
budgeted.
approved it, why do you,
I'm just, well, you have to approve the salary structure.
the salary
Yes,
structure,
yes.
not the budget
I'm
amount?
giving you the
Okay.
numbers of what it costs.
Okay.
You're going to approve the
The
actual
new structure, so we're not
chart.
increasing our budget at all.
You are not.
It's okay, so my next
Yes.
question is this enough? Is this 36, is this new budget, this new proposed
Mm-hmm.
plan, is that going to be enough, and for how long?
Well, no, that's a great question. I think what we hinge on is minimum wage.
Are we
If
taking
minimum
into
wage
consideration-
increases, and then we look again at data comparisons, you have to watch how this all moves. I mean, you have to be cognizant of that. in
That's
terms
what
of-
I want to
yeah.
make sure that, should we shoot a little bit higher?
No.
Okay, that's why I just want to make sure that, I don't want you to have to do this again in a year.
No.
Okay,
Well, I mean, if your minimum wage changes, you would look at the data and you'd do comparisons and you'd look and see where you are. Now, we've done a lot of data comparison, which is why I gave you the minimum median. And if you ask me, those positions now are brought better into line than they have been over 10 years. Minimum wage changes, and then we need to have a conversation to see, do we just change the minimum wage? Because we've done that in the past, and then we leave everything else. What you have to be aware of, though, is you keep creeping from one particular position into the next, which is your shelver to cert clerk, and what that means in terms of that change in those positions.
are we
But-
aware of any additional,
I am not aware of any at this point.
any additional?
Changes in minimum wage, I
Okay,
am not.
okay, I wasn't sure. I know we had a few years where it was
We
going
did.
up, up, up.
We had 3 years that they implemented
So-
minimum wage changes, and 2018 was the last one to go into effect.
Okay, just wanted
And
to
I
make sure.
have not heard of anything more.
I'm just trying to be proactive.
No, it's a
so
great-
that you don't have
Yeah.
to do, at least I think now you have such a great idea of what to do in the
We
future.
do, and I can tell you that now, it shouldn't have gone this long.
Sure.
I'm happy to tell you that. It
Good.
really shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And I should have paid attention when the minimum wage first changed. Then we wouldn't have had, I don't think, as much of a shift had we been paying attention to it a little bit more. But at that time, when those shifts were happening, we were also having budget concerns at that same time, and we weren't really doing much with salaries. So that's all happened in those 10 years that we've had this change.
And just to
this is
offer,
amazing.
in our meeting, we did talk about, looking, I'm on the final ends of the outs of HR, so I'm talking about what I was involved in, but we talked about looking at it a little bit more often, yes?
Absolutely.
So that's
Yeah.
just for your comfort level, this should never go 10 years again.
right.
Right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
we live, we learn.
Or
Thank
9, 'cause
you.
it's
Amazing,
been a
you
year
guys,
and a-
amazing, everyone.
Yeah, I just want to really kind of comment that just the little bit that I have seen that has surfaced at the whole board, not gone on in the subcommittee work, the intensiveness, the comprehensiveness, the objectivity, the turning for resources that were available to help
Yeah.
us really analyze the data that we were analyzing, and even what data should be analyzed as opposed to what was, those kinds of major work and decision making, I just really wish to commend. I do have a concern on leadership issues and department heads. Because you were saying that this will affect, 32 employees, and we have a staff of, 67? And so I don't know where this kind of fits, because leadership is so critical to the mission of this library and to the continual outreach and engagement in the city of Novi. So-
Well, I can tell you that, based on the new proposed, they're fitting into line into the newer ones. So I think that says a lot. What can also move someone and continue to move them farther is also performance.
Yes.
So that's added to that,
Yes.
and they are probably moving based on performance already, and they didn't fall out of any of these categories. So they are on par.
Okay.
So this 36,000 does take into consideration all 67 employees.
It takes into consideration,
32.
no, 32
32.
employees.
That's right.
But,
Yes.
but no, looking at all 67
Oh,
employees.
yes.
And
Yes.
their salary.
Yes.
So every single employee's salary was considered to
Yeah,
see
their
where everybody
position-
fits in.
their position and their
So
salary.
everybody is already taken into consideration.
Correct.
And it's only going to affect currently 32.
You are correct.
So I just wanted to clarify
Yes.
that, that everybody, yeah, so it was a great question.
No, that
Okay,
is.
thank
Yep,
you.
Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I'm
Everyone was looked at, each
Yeah.
individual person and where they fell.
Perfect.
In the new range.
in the new range.
Correct.
Okay, wonderful,
And
thank
so
you.
in 2008, how many staff did we have as compared to 2018 staff members?
We were closer to 70. It's just,
Not that many
we
changed.
always, we're pretty much
Okay.
staying right in there, so.
I was just going to say, given the fact that all employees have been taken into consideration.
Yes.
And given the fact that some of these numbers have jumped a lot, to be able to be, I'm going to say only 36,000, to me is quite good. And it kind of indicates that we had a few things to fix, but we weren't way out of whack.
No, we weren't. We weren't. And actually, the two positions that I had the most concern on, it validated it, and we are making the changes to where I saw that there was the greatest need.
And I would echo Doreen's comments that thanks to the people who worked on it. Good job.
Well, the committee, thank you for always being available. And two, if I could just put a shout out, Marcia Dominic from the admin office did a ton of compiling of statistics, and we used the DSLRT and the state aid, and she also contacted individual libraries because things can change, and state aid is sometimes a year back. It's not the most right at the time that it's the past budget that they're proposing or have just finished. So, she would call other libraries and also get that information as well. So she did a lot of data compiling for me and for you to get this all together.
And I appreciate that as a treasurer, because if we would have had outside consultant, that just would have gone into
It
our
is.
budget, so.
And I want to go back
Yeah.
to a comment you made, many months ago where you were not in favor of working with a consultant based on the cost, and they are expensive, and instead, you offered, and I'll quote you, put it towards the employees, and we did. Yeah, yes. It was labor intensive, but also I want to thank the city of Novi's HR department. They were very, 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 very helpful. Glenn Caldwell and Tia Gronlund Fox were very, very helpful in this process with us. And it's great to have people from that particular department saying, yes, this makes sense. You know, we support you in this. We understand why you're doing it and the changes that were made. So it has been blessed from the other side as well, if that's helpful. And they are, to me, I find them to be my HR experts for the city.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Anything else on this?
Well, I just don't think we can say enough kind of gratitude that you followed the board's concern about how much money we could and should, and yet wanting to be just and equitable and thorough and objective. And you certainly have stepped up and done all of that in this process. So it's great to be a part of a board
Yeah.
that works so collaboratively with the administration on such an important issue for all of us.
So what I'll be doing next month is I will bring you the salary chart second draft for approval, but I will also bring you a budget amendment so that it reflects these number changes so that I can get them to the city and hopefully their numbers can get on page with ours, knowing that July is coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks.
Is that necessary to amend our budget?
It is because that 56 isn't in the right, they're not in the right lines.
Oh, okay, okay.
It was a placeholder.
Okay.
And I've shared that with them, but it does need to move into the
Okay,
right,
I just
yeah,
wanted to
the
make
right
sure.
places.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Hopefully
Okay.
by then I'll have all the other questions that I can answer. We can clean up a few things that we need to with budget stuff.
Yeah, awesome. So we'll move on to B, which,
So this is a favor, asking of all of you. There is a potential for me to be out of town Thursday, December 27th, which is 2018 for our board meeting. And what I was wondering is if the board would consider moving our meeting just to the third week of December on the 20th. I know that's right before the holiday, but on the 20th, it'd be the third Thursday. We'd keep it to Thursday, but it'd be the third Thursday. And we
Yes.
need to change that, and it would have to be voted on in order for us to make that.
and I'll make a quick note. I'm pretty sure last time it was on the 20th of December last year.
It's listed on our calendars, December 19th.
Yeah,
Right, because she wants to change it to the
Just
20th,
It
right?
is.
yeah, December 19th.
Yes.
I wonder if we
Which is a
changed it based on the
Wednesday.
calendar and it wasn't available and it got moved to a Wednesday.
Yes.
Okay, hold on, because all I'm checking is to make sure it's on my calendar the same way. And it's not. Okay, let's not do anything yet. Let me
Okay.
double check.
Okay, sounds good. So
all
you'll
right.
get back with us and we'll
Yes,
talk about it next
yes,
month.
because you might have already approved it and I don't know that and I apologize. I was just seeing it, already looking ahead in calendar stuff.
Yeah.
And was already seeing that date and I still had it for the 27th.
It's okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. All right, so we'll move on to 16, which I'm wondering if there's a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, sounds like we're adjourning.
Congratulations.
Great meeting.
Congratulations, bid